Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heart lines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker. The political landscape of America is changing, and socialism is rearing its head in a more profound way than in any other previous time in our history. Conservatism is being redefined, and the Bible, if even referenced, is no longer the foundation upon which America is built. Here to talk about what's going on in America today is Joe Newby of ConservativeFiringLine.com. Joe is a 10-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps who wrote for Examiner.com for 6 years. His articles have also appeared in Newsbusters, Spokane Faith and Values, and many other sites. He also runs the Conservative Firing Line, where he discusses important issues to conservatives. He's the co-author of Banned, How Facebook Enables Militant Islamic Jihad, and he appears here on Revealing the Truth on the first Monday of each month at the 12 o'clock hour. Here to bring us up to date on America Gone Wild is Joe Newby. Joe, good to see you, my friend.
Good morning, Eric. Great to see you, my friend.
We've missed you. I forget last month what was going on.
And I think we had Labor Day going on last month.
Labor Day, that was it. And so we took that day to honor. Well, first of all, you worked until like 8:30 that morning.
Yes.
All night. So
yes.
Things were not ideal for. We didn't want Sleepy Joe. We wanted the fired up Joe.
There you go.
So Joe, there is no lack. As a matter of fact, I think that ConservativeFiringLine.com has more small pictures and content than I think at any other point in time that I've seen the page. Normally there's a bunch of big splash stories, but there's so much happening. The page is just populated with story after story after story. What, from the conservative perspective, is happening right in front of our face?
What is happening right in front of our face, Eric, is, quite frankly, in my opinion, nothing short of a prelude to a possible second bloody civil war. And I'm not being hyperbolic about that one bit, Eric. I am a somewhat of a student of history, especially the Civil War period is one of my most favorite times within American history for a whole lot of reasons. But what I'm seeing happening right now, Eric, right in front of our eyes, is America turning stupid, quite frankly. Between the media and what's happening in academia. Just this morning, for example, there was a post that went live about a professor, a philosophy professor at Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas, which, by the way, is where I graduated high school from back in 1975. An individual there, pro-Antifa, pro-BLM professor who came out on Facebook and said he wanted to see police strangled with the intestines of capitalists, and then he wants to see capitalists strangled with the intestines of politicians. Excuse me, but this is what's educating our children, Eric. And he's not the only one. He's not the only professor like this. What astounded me about that is, like I said, I graduated high school in Wichita Falls, Texas. I attended two different high schools when I lived there back in the early and mid 70s. My dad retired from the nearby Air Force Base in 1970. He's buried there today. He lived there for many, many years with his wife, and he's buried there today, as is his wife is buried there. And for me to see this in a town that meant so much to me growing up, uh, I know something about Wichita Falls, Texas, even though I haven't been there in a good number of years. These people are not fascists. This isn't the town I grew up in. This isn't what these people are like. But yet you have this Antifa professor saying nonsense like this, and then blaming locals for having the audacity to be upset with what he posted on Facebook and calling them fascists. Uh, Eric, the United States is at a tipping point right now. Okay, like you, I grew up in a period of time that was almost as divisive during the Vietnam War. I remember debating leftists back in the, well, they weren't leftists. We didn't think of them that way back then. But they were people who were liberal, certainly more liberal than me. Um, and I never heard this kind of disrespect. I never heard this kind of outright hatred. The desire to see people like me dead, murdered, strangled, killed. I didn't see this. It was, I may disagree with your point of view, but I'll defend to the death your right to hold it and your right to say it. We don't have that anymore, Eric. We have a left that has gone absolutely berserk. And they've gotten to the point, Eric, and I wrote about this yesterday, they're now out barking like dogs. Literally barking like dogs, like four-legged creatures, barking like dogs. Um, this happened in California, in Claremont, California. Eric, we are on a tipping point right now, I think, between the death wishes that have been sent to Donald Trump and the First Lady, from people like Michael Moore, for example, who says he's coming out and praying for the COVID-19 virus to beat Trump. And of course, in order for that to happen, that means Trump has to die. Um, to people in the so-called media, I don't even call them reporters anymore, Eric, because they're not. They're not reporters. They're propagandists. Networks like CNN, MSNBC. I'm telling you, Eric, things are bad and they are getting worse with each passing minute. I have one real big concern, Eric. I really do. I again, I'm a student of history, and I've studied the period of time right up, before the Confederates attacked Fort Sumter. And I'm here to tell you, Eric, I believe we are in a period of time that is very much like that prior to the run up to the attack on Fort Sumter. I really believe we're at that point right now.
We're certainly on the brink of a clash. There are no less than 10 cities on fire.
Hmm.
We've got hurricanes, so many that they ran out of names, that they're now calling them Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta,
Right.
and we're already into Delta. So the hurricane season is virtually doubled. So we've got this natural disaster. You've got fires raging across the West that are a natural occurrence, but not to this degree.
No.
And you got the COVID epidemic, and you have the President of the United States hospitalized. You've got a hate agenda, a cancel culture, a demonic force that does not mind calling itself a demonic force.
Right.
And you have a candidate willing to run for office knowing that he will be a puppet.
Right. Well, it's worse than that. It's worse than that, Eric. You're absolutely right about the cancel culture, and about the side that is openly willing to say that it's demonic. Amy Coney Barrett, for example, the Donald Trump's nominee to the Supreme Court, was attacked by Dianne Feinstein over her Catholic faith. I thought that was illegal to discriminate against someone based upon their religion. Um, but you're absolutely right about all of this, and it's quite frankly scary. It really is. I got a call from a friend of mine. He's got a radio program of his own, and he's very outspoken, and he's not afraid to say his mind. Sometimes that gets him in trouble. That's okay. It happens to all of us. And he called me up to tell me that he's been canceled from Roku. He's being canceled, I think, from Patreon and a few other places. They're trying to stop his program from going out over the internet because he said something. Um, I don't know that I would have said it, frankly, but hey, he's got a right to his opinion. He stated it. I didn't think it was all that bad, but when I compared it to what a former Twitter CEO said, I had to stop and wonder, why is my friend getting canceled, but yet a former Twitter CEO who says, "Hey, let's put capitalists that don't agree with me up against the wall and shoot them." That's basically what he said. He said, they're either going to, if they don't get along with his idea of social justice warfare, then they ought to be put up against a wall and shot, executed. What? This is a former CEO of Twitter who is saying this, and yet he's allowed to. You have Hollywood celebrities. You have these so-called blue check Twitter users who come out and wish death on President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump. And what happens to them? Nothing. Not a blessed thing. But yet, you or I or anybody else say something that offends someone on the left, and oh my gosh, we have to cancel him. We have to shut him down. We have to silence her. We have to silence him. What's going on, Eric?
The control, this is obviously a very well organized, financially solvent, well backed agenda that has been unfolding during the Obama Clinton years.
Mm-hmm.
And had a clear path to pave the way for it to be in full effect by now.
Right.
Because the expectation was Hillary Clinton would be in her fourth year in office. Everything would be rocking along. We'd be full-blown into the socialist Marxist agenda, and she would be reelected, and that would seal the deal that could not be undone. The Supreme Court would be stacked in such a way that there could be nothing overturned. The Constitution would be relegated to what it is today, which is nothing more than a reference document that implies we're supposed to do stuff, but doesn't really say anything of relevance because you can just interpret the way you want. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness have all been changed. Life is now redefined. That you can kill a baby after it's born, and it's not murder. liberty, you can say anything you want as long as it agrees with us. And pursuit of happiness means we'll tell you, if we want your opinion, we'll tell you what it is, and you'll go where we tell you to go and shop where we tell you to shop, and we'll tell you what clothes to wear, what statements you can wear, what flags you can fly, what monuments you can erect, what names you can call your schools. Your football teams have to be named the way we want them named, and everybody has to come on board and apologize for a 250-year history that's been visited and revisited, and yet nobody's come up with a solution other than you're all wrong, and unless you do it our way, you're going to continue to be wrong. And doing it our way means that the enslavement that they are so completely up in arms about, we will be enslaved, and the slave mentality and agenda will be perpetrated on 350 Americans, 350 million Americans.
That sounds an awful lot to me, Eric. Like, what's that word? Totalitarianism.
Yes.
Am I wrong? I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about here. We're talking about turning the United States of America into something that looks more like Nazi Germany or the former Soviet Union. Am I wrong?
Look, when you can have somebody in office for 47 years that has not done anything different in 47 years than they did when they came there 47 years ago,
right,
has served as the Vice President of the United States during an 8-year failed agenda, failed administration that messed up a whole lot of things. And he is the favored to win.
Well, I question that. You know, my wife and I talk about this because we see this on the news, even on Fox, that Joe Biden is the favored to win. And I keep telling my wife, we heard this 4 years ago, this exact same thing 4 years ago. Hillary Clinton was the favored to win, you know, by 100 million to 1. She's going to get every single vote in the United States and the whole world. Well, guess what? That didn't happen at all. And it's the same thing with Joe Biden. You look at what's going on, and I've tried telling her this. You know, I look on social media, and what I see on social media, I don't see despair on our side at all. I do not see it. I see cautious optimism, to be sure, because everybody knows that there is an effort underway to steal this election from Donald Trump. Ballot harvesting, good grief! I saw an article. I hadn't gotten into it that deep, but there's a Democrat, I believe, in Missouri, who is allegedly engaged in ballot harvesting in several different states. We see the effort taking place underway in Minnesota. It was captured by Project Veritas, Ilhan Omar, and the ballot harvesting for money scheme going on there. I don't know if you saw that or not, Eric, but that particular video was unreal. They actually caught the guy on video accepting $200 for ballots, for crying out loud. And yet the media and the Democrats tell us, oh, this doesn't happen. Yeah, right. But you're absolutely correct there, Eric. You know, especially about Joe Biden. I remember when he first got elected to office. I mean, that's scary, isn't it? I was a teenager when he first got elected to office, way back in the early '70s. And I'm not going to say that I followed his career with any great attention, but I do remember the scandal where I think when was it, back in the 1980s, when he plagiarized someone. Remember that?
Yep, the British statement, a British statesman's speech,
Was it
where
Neil Kinnock, I think?
yep,
Was that the guy's name? Yeah.
where he claimed to just the whole litany of claims. But what's most stunning is his complicity in the Hunter Biden,
Oh, yes.
uh, Ukraine and Moscow situation, which has been now presented hard evidence. The $3.5 million was wired to him by the mayor of Moscow's wife,
Yes. A
uh,
former mayor, but yes.
former mayor of Moscow's wife, while his father was in the vice president's role for the purpose of influence.
Right.
That's more evidence than they have on Donald Trump in the entire Mueller investigation, in the entire impeachment investigation. You have more evidence and knowledge of factual evidence that Joe Biden had knowledge as a sitting vice president of the illegal activities of his son.
You're right.
He denied that Hunter Biden was dishonorably discharged. So, a technicality. Hunter Biden
Right.
was in the Navy.
Right.
He was caught with cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
He had been in less than 6 months, and therefore you don't get a dishonorable discharge. You get a less than honorable, or there are a couple of other. But the fact is, if there would have been a court martial, he would have been dishonorably discharged. So
Right.
it's the splitting of hairs. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you are in the Navy. You test positive for cocaine. You get kicked out of the Navy.
And let's not forget that that stripper that he impregnated from I think she was from Batesville, Arkansas, and he impregnated her, refused to pay child support. Um, yeah, this is Hunter Biden, and this is a family that now wants to be in charge of America. That's real rich.
You know, if we were to take a biblical conservative view, there is no part of this social justice agenda that lines up with the preeminent social justice plan, which is the Bible,
Right.
which was the message of Jesus. He was the greatest arbiter of social justice in all of history. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
Paul continued that message: esteem the other more than yourself.
Right.
Jesus said, bless those who curse you. I mean, this is as social justice as you get. Paul comes along and says, look, everything that divided us is now gone.
Right.
There's no more division. All right? Everybody has free and clear access to all the promises of heaven through the shed blood of Jesus. Doesn't matter what your background is. All right? The two people of the world, the Jews and Gentiles, now have equal access.
Right.
Okay? And are to be treated fairly in the kingdom of God.
You're right.
Now you have the God
Absolutely.
deniers and the anti-God agenda and the anti-life agenda,
Mm-hmm.
the cancel agenda, and it is an agenda which does nothing to offer a solution
That's
other
right.
than what, killing cows to reduce methane gas?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think California um, has actually put, or if they haven't already done it, I know they were looking at legislation to control methane from cattle, and I'm not sure if they've actually done anything about that yet or not. But that is something that they've been looking at for a while now,
You
is
know,
to control methane from cattle.
Joe Biden said he does not support the new Green Deal, but it is on his website.
Well, it's even more than that, Eric. He said he doesn't support the Green New Deal, but what his website says is that it's a crucial framework. So it's even more than just whether he supports it or not. It's a crucial part of his plan of the Green New Deal is. So that makes me wonder: will the real Joe Biden please stand up? It's like all during the primary, if you recall, he said he was going to end the fracking. There would be no more fracking. Remember that?
I remember.
And in fact, he's even gone so far as to say that fossil fuel executives should be tossed in jail. Okay, there will be no more drilling for oil, this kind of thing, no more fracking. And then when he was called out about all this by Donald Trump, what does he say? I don't support the end of fracking. Wait a minute, what? He only said it 100 million times, you know, throughout the primary. Okay, there be no more drilling, no more fracking, no more oil, no more energy. What? And now he supports fracking. Well, that all of this, Eric. And again, lying is not anything new with Joe Biden. He's done this his whole political career. Um, I've gotten to the point now to where I call him Lying Joe Biden because he has been caught red-handed in so many lies, so many misstatements, so many outrageously unbelievable statements that that's the only thing. That's the only way I can respond. Here, what was it when he went to Kenosha, for example? I don't know if you caught this or not, but he claimed that Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb.
Right.
Okay, wait a minute. What? No, he said it was some. It was a black guy. Well, no, the black guy that he referred to didn't invent the light bulb, but he did invent an improved filament for the light bulb. I think he's the one who came up with the carbon tungsten filament for the light bulb to make it last longer. But he didn't invent the light bulb. Joe Biden has been caught in one lie after another, after another, after another, after another. I mean, it's a daily thing with him now.
Is this going to come down between style and content?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. What's that?
Is this going to come down between style and content?
Well, I don't know, Eric. I think it's we've seen this definitely style. Joe Biden lies. The thing is that Donald Trump is not one to take a punch and not return it. And this is something that neither Biden nor the media has really come fully to grips with. They are used to Republicans being defensive in the face of their lies and their outrageous attacks. They're not used to, even after 4 years of Donald Trump, they are not used to a Republican fighting back. And as evidence for that, I would mention Chris Wallace. Look at the way he has responded to the criticism that's been leveled against him for the way he basically was part of a tag team with Joe Biden against the president in the first debate. Chris, I used to think the world of him, but I'm really beginning to wonder. I saw a side of him Sunday that really concerned me because not only was he defensive about the way he did, if I was him and I did what he did, and I was confronted, I would say, well, you know what? Maybe you're right. I can see where you're coming from. Okay, fine. Let's chalk it up as a learning experience and move on, right? But he didn't do that. Instead, he blamed President Trump for what he and Joe Biden did. Joe Biden is the one who started the interruptions, but yet Chris Wallace blamed Donald Trump, okay? And then when the Trump campaign advisor, I think it was Steve Cortez, confronted him about it, about the whole mask thing, Wallace showed a smug disdain for the American people that I don't think I've ever seen from him before. I don't know if you caught that or not. Cortez said something to him to the effect that, the American people are capable of making decisions for themselves about certain things, right? And Wallace's response was, no, they're not. And I don't know if you caught that or not, but but I did. And when I heard that, and the way that he said it, I thought to myself, my goodness, this is not the Chris Wallace that I've ever seen before. It was very smug, very condescending, very arrogant. It was quite truly a side of him that I had never seen before. And I think it's a window into his soul, if you will. But we're going to see a whole lot more of this, I think, between now and the actual election. We've got 2 more debates, I think, between Trump and Biden. I think we're going to see more of this. It's probably going to be worse in the next one, assuming that it happens, because the moderator happens to be a fanboy of Joe Biden, and I think a former staffer either of Biden's or Kennedy's or someone. So it's going to be, no doubt it's going to be another case of 2 against 1, Biden and the moderator versus Trump. I'd be very surprised if it's not. But it's the kind of thing that we've come to expect to see. As far as style over substance, I think it's going to be a combination of all kinds of things, Eric. I really do. I think it's going to be a case of truth over lies. Donald Trump, of course, has been proven right so many times it's not even funny, while Joe Biden has been found lacking and proven to be a consummate liar. So there's that to consider as well. It's going to be very interesting. I'll put it that way.
Amen. Well, we've been talking with Joe Newby of conservativefiringline.com, talking about the upcoming election, the change in the political climate, moving as far away from a conservative agenda and a conservative voice to the cancel culture of Antifa and BLM and every other group that would rally to silence your voice and to rob you of your choice. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to continue this discussion from Joe Newby of conservativefiringline.com. We'll be right back. Shalom. I'm Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, inviting you to join me and my special featured guests twice per month with Rabbi Zev Parat and Carl Gallups, and monthly with Dr. Michael Heiser, Dr. Michael Lake, Dr. Timothy Jennings, Dr. Mark Baker, Dr. Jeffrey Johnson, Drs. Michelle and Mark Sherwood, Dr. Kim Moss, Derek Gilbert, Peter Rosenberger, Brandon Gallops, Steve Fair, Stephen Black, and Sean Tabbitt for in-depth insights into Israel, prophecy, the unseen realm, the brain, spiritual warfare, overcoming shame, mysteries of the Bible, prophetic insights, the sensational and the supernatural, caregiving, addiction recovery, understanding the divided heart, same-sex attraction, and much more. We're proud to feature some of the greatest biblical minds from both Israel and around the United States. Check out our featured guest lineup and 24/7 feed on ignitinganation.com or watch by topic on any device with our free apps. If you can't find what you need, you're just not looking in the right place. Follow us on social media and download our free apps today.
With today's smartphone technology, news, information, sports, and entertainment is widely available and almost unbounded. But what about the information that believers in Yeshua are looking for? Well, now there's an app for that. Igniting a Nation now has apps available for Android and iPhone. With our app, you'll gain access to everything you would in our website, from our featured guests to our live streaming shows. Visit Google Play or the Apple Store and download Igniting a Nation's new app today.
Shalom. I'm Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, inviting you to join me and Israel's #1 rated guide, Edo Canaan, for our annual Israel trip. Our 2022 trip is now open for registration for our 18th trip to Israel. Our trip will take us from Tel Aviv to the Galilee, down to the Dead Sea, and 4 nights in Jerusalem. You will walk where Yeshua walked and watch the Bible turn from black and white to living color. Visit ignitinganation.com/events and download the registration form today. No, it's not too early to take advantage of our payment plan designed to fit any budget. All of our trips sell out, and we want you to experience this life-changing journey. Registration is now open for April 2nd to 13th, 2022, and we promise you, you will never read your Bible the same way again. Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heart lines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, and we're talking with Joe Newby, author of Banned: How Facebook Enables Islamic Jihad, and he is the proprietor of the conservativefiringline.com. Joe Newby, welcome back. Joe,
Good to be here.
Joe, this COVID-19 pandemic seems to be very selective in its timing.
Yes, very interesting. We were kind of discussing this here, I think, a little bit, and I was talking about this with some friends of mine on Facebook earlier today, and of course, the news broke that Kayleigh McEnany has tested positive for the virus. Even though she's not feeling any symptoms, she's going to be quarantining herself. And now Attorney General Bill Barr is going to be quarantining himself for a couple weeks. President Trump and First Lady came down with it. They say that the debate was the super spreader event of this. However, to my knowledge, Joe Biden, who was also there, has not come down with it. Neither has Chris Wallace, so far as I know. We have these 2 Republicans who are on the Judiciary Committee, and they have come down with the coronavirus. You're right, Eric. It does seem rather selective. And then on top of that, Nancy Pelosi, from what I understand, will not get tested for the virus, even though she didn't have a problem with getting her hair blown out without a mask, if you recall. I'm not one for conspiracy theories, Eric. I really not. I avoid that kind of thing like the plague. I get people sending me stuff all the time, and I look at it, and I can see where some of it might come from, but I'm generally not one to go along with these conspiracy theories. But I got to tell you, that there are red flags going up in the back of my head. Um, all of a sudden, less than 30 days out from an election, all of a sudden the president, the first lady, some very prominent Republicans, all of a sudden, members of Trump's inner circle, um, all just getting this virus all of a sudden. But yet I don't see any Democrats getting it, and I don't see any Democrats even concerned about testing. Nancy Pelosi won't test for it for whatever reason. Um, Something is fishy here. I mean, it's like I said, it just makes me wonder what's up with all of this.
Well, it certainly is questionable. The tweet that went out that they wish he would die.
Yeah.
Uh, you have Michael Moore
Hmm.
uh,
Praying for the virus.
praying for the
Thoughts and
virus.
prayers. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just really unconscionable to see the response. I know the president's personality. He's going to drive to be released as soon as possible. He's in a military hospital. He's the commander in chief.
Hmm.
He may be under the medical care of the doctors, but they're under his authority, so he can order them to do whatever it is he tells them to do.
Yes and no. I mean, he can. Uh, you're right. I think to an extent, but I can't see that a doctor would willingly go along with an order that he or she would find contrary to good medical, principle. I just don't see that happening personally.
Well, I've actually been surprised that there was not a convening of Mike Pence being
Right.
the 25th Amendment,
Right.
all the preparations for the transfer of power,
Hmm.
Nancy Pelosi in line, or even talking about that. That's always um, in play whenever a president's hospitalized. I was very surprised that the left did not immediately jump on that.
I think some of them actually did, to be honest. But you see, there's a fine line there in that just being hospitalized doesn't necessarily make a president incapacitated. And I think the test is not whether or not a president is in the hospital, but whether or not a president is capable of doing his or her
Right.
job. I mean, a president can easily be hospitalized for any number of things, okay? Um, but yet still be capable of doing the job.
Right. So yeah,
And
the question is he able to execute his duties? Is he incapacitated? And
right,
but usually, even just any hospitalization of a president would cause them to um, begin that assessment
right,
as to whether or not if you have a high temperature, are you of sound mind? You know,
yeah,
are you delirious? I know
well,
that I was in intensive care with a
hmm
temperature of 104. I was
right.
delirious.
Well, you would be with a temperature like
Right.
that.
So those are some of the things.
Right.
But here we are. The election is 4 weeks from tomorrow.
Right.
The undecideds are undecided. The people who they're interviewing and publicizing are all skewed toward the bully performance at the debate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I felt that there was a lack of decorum.
There was.
I felt it was a slugfest.
It was.
And unfortunately did not hear the president deliver, nor Joe Biden, any plan of action, which is what it was intended to do. But you can't do that in 2 minutes.
You can't. And here's the thing too about these debates. And I gotta say, quite honestly, a debate, quite frankly, is no place to put out a quote unquote plan. A plan for any particular thing or policy takes more than, like you said, 2 minutes to explain. A debate, in reality, is two people putting forth their ideas of how they would run the country. And this is how I'm going to run the country. I think you're wrong. And the other person would say the same thing. No, this is how I'm going to run the country, and this is how I think you're wrong. There's no time in a debate to put forward a plan. And as far as the decorum, you're right about that, 100%. But I have to say that, quite frankly, when I look back at Joe Biden's performance over the years, a debate without decorum is going to be the standard if he is part of it. And I don't know if you remember, I remember, I'll never forget the debate he had with Paul Ryan back during the 2012 campaign. That was the most obnoxious performance I had ever seen from somebody running for the second highest office in the land. That was Joe Biden against Paul Ryan. Joe Biden was arrogant, smug, condescending. He interrupted the little snick. I mean, it wasn't a debate performance in my mind at all, Eric. It was a bully on the schoolyard going after his target. That was what Joe Biden presented in 2012 when he went against Paul Ryan. And it was a performance that he tried to duplicate here just recently with Donald Trump. The difference is, excuse me, the difference is that Paul Ryan, being an establishment Republican, handled that like pretty much any establishment Republican might. Donald Trump, on the other hand, is not an establishment Republican. And if you attack him that way, he will fire back. And he will do so harder and I think with more effect than the initial attacker. I mean, Donald Trump, in my mind, I don't know about you, but I remember growing up, my dad would tell me, the best thing, thing about bullies is that they'll bully you until you let them know you're just not going to be bullied anymore, and then they're not going to bully you again, and that's kind of the way Donald Trump is. When these people come after him, he doesn't take their nonsense. He goes right back at them. And again, they still haven't quite figured out how to deal with that because they're so used to Republicans just putting up with it. So I think I think number one, you're right about the debate not having a whole lot of decorum. There wasn't, but I think that's going to be the par with any debate, including Joe Biden. It'll be interesting to see what happens with these next two debates if they actually take place. I really wonder if that's going to happen now.
Well, the good news is you're going to be on with us in the 12 o'clock hour on Monday, the day before the election, and we're
That's
going to
right.
get your insights and kind of catch us up as to what's changed, what's the same, and how things are leaning. You have an entire team there at conservativefiringline.com that keeps their finger on the pulse of everything, and you kind of give us the broad brush view of this coming election and what has taken place to point. There is a lot to happen in the next 4 weeks that
Absolutely.
is going to determine the course of America's future, including the confirmation of a new Supreme Court justice, which is, I think, significant from
Absolutely.
from a legacy standpoint.
Absolutely.
So we look forward to that. We've been talking with Joe Newby of conservativefiringline.com. You can subscribe to Conservative Firing Line just by visiting conservativefiringline.com and clicking on subscribe. You can follow their Facebook feed and their Twitter feed as well. Not only is Joe a contributor there, but he has a full team of conservative contributors, and you can join hundreds of thousands of followers that are going to give you the true conservative view of what's happening. They don't pull any punches, and they are biblically sound. And so that is how Joe and I became friends, and he's been a part of this broadcast for quite some time, bringing his insights. So we encourage you to support his work there at conservativefiringline.com. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the next edition of Revealing the Truth.